10 random magic cards rated edition 159, everybody. Beautiful Saturday morning, isn't it? I don't know. If you're here watching this, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. Just think about it. Put it in perspective sometimes. You got to look at life and think, hey, I'm drawing breath and I'm looking at magic cards. Good day. So let's look at it. Salkanar, the Swamp King from Legends, baby. Okay. It is really sad to see that like most versions of this card are like 10 cents. Like this one from Dominaria Master is kind of sick because it's got the retro frame and all that. I've always been kind of partial to the Chronicles one. You can get that for 40 cents. This Legend one is close to $50 right now. Before I read this card, let me just tell you that this is a legendary, not just because it's a legendary creature. This is the actual meaning, the dictionary definition of a legendary card. To old school Magic players, back before we knew any better, we all worshipped this dude, man. He was just one of the coolest looking guys in Magic up to that point, and still is to this day one of the coolest looking guys in Magic. And when you're like 13 years old, when you're 12 years old learning how to play Magic, you know, and you see this guy in 1995, like, it's over. You're a Magic player for life. Look how awesome this guy is. But in case you want to know what he actually does, he's 2, a red, a black, and a blue. I would say Grixis. Grixis was still like 20 years away when this guy came out. We didn't know what that word meant. What are you talking about, Grixis? 2 red, black, blue. He's a red, black, blue guy. What are you talking about? He's 5/5 legendary demon with Swamp Walk. His controller gains 1 life each time a black spell is cast. So whenever a player casts a black spell, you gain 1 life, is how that's written in modern Magic talk. So it's not that good. You know, you'll cast a black spell from time to time. You also have blue and red cards in your deck, one would assume. But you'll cast a black spell time to time. That's a life here and there. If your opponent's playing black, you'll gain a life here and there. You know, that's fine. But, like, life isn't that big of a deal. And, like, the only keyword ability this guy has is Swamp Walk. So, 5-mana 5/5 Swamp Walk. You'll win the mono black mirror or whatever, the matchup. You're playing against black and they don't make you discard this with Hypnotic Spectre in the early game or whatever, then like if you somehow manage turn 3 Salkanar because of Dark Ritual, like they can't terror it. It's usually their best bet at getting rid of stuff, right? So you're just going to sit there, gain life, and go unblocked for the whole game, and you win. So the card is not like terrible, at least as long as you're playing against swamps. That's fine. You know, in 1995, if you're playing against swamps nowadays, you're dead, right? It doesn't die to Doomblade, but it dies to Infernal Grasp and Go for the Throat and everything. So it's just not good. But there was a time when this card was almost good. We convinced ourselves it was good because his name sounds amazing. Salkanar, the Swamp King. He looks like Swamp Thing. Most people sometimes would call him Swamp Thing. But even outside of the Swamp Thing reference, he looks so awesome, dude. Look at his muscles and his demon horns and his cool smile and his really ridiculously awesome club that RKF did all the freaking detail on. It's just so... I would have signed it like this. You see his signature now? RKF 94, huge signature. I would have done the same thing. He knew this was his finest work, and that's saying something because RKF is one of the best Magic artists of all time. Just amazing Magic card. I'm going to give it the honorary 5. I've gabbed on about it for way too long here, but it is a very special card in my heart. And if you've been playing for this long too, then I can almost guarantee it's a special card in your heart as well. So first card of the day is almost guaranteed to be my favorite card of the day, even if it's one I don't give the highest rating to. So I'm glad we finally hit you. It's a special day for me. It's a special... I love Salkanar, dude. So I love you, and I hate to say goodbye to you. I really do. And next time we see you, I'm going to have to be like, we've already done Salkanar. It's going to suck. It's going to be sad. This is a beautiful time, though. Let's cherish this time where we finally hit Salkanar the Swamp King. It's going to happen. And I'm glad it finally did. But let's move on. Maybe we'll get an equally nostalgic and amazing card that sucks now. It's Inverted Iceberg. This is a artifact from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It costs 2 mana, 1 and a black. When it enters the battlefield, mill a card, and then draw a card. You can also craft this with an artifact for 4 and 2 blue. When you do so, you get Iceberg Titan. This is a 6/6 golem. Whenever it attacks, you may tap or untap target artifact or creature. So that's kind of neat. You know, a big guy, you know, interesting. I guess it's not interesting, but it's fine. You get an extra ability. They didn't have to give you that. That's very nice. But just up front, right? Yeah, 2 mana, ETB, mill a card, draw a card. They're kind of doing stuff. It's not terrible. So I don't absolutely despise this, but it is currently playable in standard, and I kind of completely forgot it existed. So that should tell you, something, right? So I don't know why I said it like that. Something. It should tell you something, though. That point does stand. I'm going to give this a 3.7. A little high, I think, but I kind of I dig it a little bit. Next is Battlefield Medic. This is from Onslaught and only Onslaught. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a human cleric. It's a 1/1, and you can tap it to prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn. X being the number of clerics in play, that's dope, man. That's actually, like, not bad. Like, I almost want to buy it, but, like, I don't really have like a clerics deck. You know? I guess a ton of creatures in LSO Core are clerics, but, like, I'm not really playing on the cleric theme. But, like, there are cleric, decks in Commander. Nobody plays them, but, like, they exist theoretically. So I don't know. This is neat for a card that's only ever been printed in one set, right? I kind of think it's okay. When it comes to these cards that care about creature type, we rate them like as though, like, outside of the vacuum, right? Like we rate them as though they are in the deck they go in. So, like, outside of clerics, obviously his cards is like a 0.0 or whatever. But, like, in clerics, this card is like a 5. Like, it's not. This card's like a 4 or something. I will give this a 3. I'm gonna give this a 3.77. I really am. I don't know if that's the right call, man, but, like, I've never seen this in my life. And, I played a little bit for Onslaught. I've been playing forever. And I don't recall ever having seen this, and I'm kind of intrigued by it. I just can't hate the little guy. I'll give him a 3.7, though. 3.77, I think we settled on. I'll stick to it. Twisted Abomination. I've always kind of liked this dude a little bit. He's from Scourge originally. 6 mana, 5 and a black for a 5/3 zombie mutant. You can pay a black and regenerate him, or you can swamp cycle him for 2. I just like dudes you can cycle. I feel like we get these guys every now and again in standard nowadays. We got like 5 of these dudes. We just had a set where, like, there was a bunch of, like, basic land cycling sort of. It's not even basic land cycling. It's this, right? It's like island cycling, forest cycling. So you can go get, like, one of the dual lands that has a land type. So and you can do that on this card. And I just always like that. You go get a dual land with this. If you ever play it, it's a 5-powered dude. It regenerates. It regenerates a nasty ability, especially on a huge guy. So, like, I'm kind of a fan. If you're building, like, a simplified cube or an old school cube or something, I think this dude definitely has his place. But, obviously he's not the, like, best card in the world. So I'll give him a 4.83. Yeah. I wish I could rate him higher. I really do. I think that's probably slightly too high, but as always, I'm a quiet fan of this guy here. But we'll move on and the Darren Bader art was incredible. But moving on to Time to Feed from Theros here. Theros. It's Theros. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a sorcery. Choose target creature an opponent controls. When the creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. A guy you control fights that creature. Okay, so it's a fight effect plus some life. 3 mana sorcery speed's too much for an effect like this. I will give this a 3.3. If your deck cares about gaining life and you're, like, only in green, maybe, but those are few-ish and far between. So move on to Grixis Panorama. We've looked at panoramas before, so I can't really count it, but these are pretty okay. As far as, like, fetch lands go, they're all right. Moving on to Armix Filigree Thrasher here from Commander Legends. This is 3 mana. This is a decent card. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 3/2 legendary artifact creature. It's a golem. And when it attacks, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature defending player controls gets -X till end of turn. X is the number of artifacts you control, plus the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. And this guy has partner. So without partner, he wouldn't be, like, that great. 3 mana, 3/2, not good. But he's a decent, like, discard enabler if you need to put stuff in your graveyard for whatever reason, while also being effectively a removal spell. So I've always kind of liked like all the crossroads this dude kind of meets in the middle of, at the intersections of. I think that he does stuff for pretty specific decks, but if you break it down, he can do stuff for more general decks too. But when you do get him in like a black deck that cares about artifacts, he's not usually going to be your commander. But in the 99 of a black deck that cares about artifacts, like, and has some reanimation elements to it and stuff, like, this guy can start to cook a little bit. So I don't hate him, but I think he's kind of like a 4.4, something like that. I think bringing all the stuff together is kind of difficult, and sometimes you only get one trigger on him before he does anything. That's all you really get before he gets blocked and he dies, or whatever. So like, there are issues with the dude, but I do kind of like him. I like all the stuff that he does. But next is Graypelt Hunter from World Wake here. That is not a set I was playing for. I was like fully on break for World Wake, so I don't know what this is. 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 2/2 human warrior ally. Oh, it's the ally set with trample. When Graypelt Hunter or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a +1/+1 counter on Hunter if you feel like it. I don't know why you wouldn't. It starts life as a 2/2. My God, that's pretty bad, man. Even if you play like, let's say the next turn you play a card that puts 3 allies on the table, okay, you got a 5/5 trample for 4 mana, but like costs more mana, costs another card out of your hand, and it starts to feel pretty bad. So I was never a big fan of the ally mechanic, I guess you want to call it. So I will give this, it's pretty drafty too overall, let's face it. So I'll give this a 2.2, something like that. Move on to Trip Noose over here from Shadowmoor. This is 2 mana for an artifact. 2 tap a guy. Yawn. Pretty bad. Pretty awful, actually. I guess like it's a tapper that any deck can play in limited. And it's not like super overpriced in that format, especially like in the sealed environment. It's a lot better. Just like tap down your opponent's bomb every turn. It's not terrible. But in any other kind of Magic, it's just bad. So I'm going to throw a 3.25 at this bad boy right here. I think that's what it deserves. Nightsky Mimic has always looked cool, but it's not that great. It's from Eventide and only Eventide. This is 1 and a black-white hybrid for a 2/1 shapeshifter. When you play a spell that's both white and black, Nightsky Mimic becomes a 4/4 and gains flying until end of turn. There was a point, the reason I say this card's not good, despite the just incredible Franz Vowinkle art here, he's always doing a good job, is because I've tried this. There was a point, I played a good bit during Lorwyn Standard, which this is kind of a part of, Lorwyn, Shadowmoor, Eventide, and all that. I love these sets. This is one of my favorite settings of all time. And I tried to make this card work because I've always been an Orzhov weirdo. And I thought that being able to place Mimic on 2 and then literally just any Orzhov guy on turn 3, you're saying I can swing for 4 flying damage on 3? That used to be really good, and it still sounds pretty appealing. To have your 2-drop be 4 power for the next few turns. So, I've always had a soft spot for this guy, but never got him to work back in the day and haven't really looked back since. So, I think the guy's cool, but I'm not going to give him more than like a 3.4. And even that shows a little bit of my affection for him, I think. So, if you, back in the day, made this guy work somehow, give me a ring, because I want to know how. I thought he was really cool, and he just never did anything. So let's move on to Primeval Titan, baby. Prime time. This is banned in Commander. So I'm going to have to score it pretty high. I would have to say, man. There's the rules committee, as run by Wizards of the Coast nowadays, is apparently going to do a round of unbanning soon, and a lot of people are saying that Primetime should be on the unbanned list here pretty soon. We'll see how that all shakes out. But if you're watching this 4 months in the future and it's already been unbanned, just disregard that whole thing. But this is 6 mana, 4 and 2 green for a 6/6 giant with trample. When an ETBs or attacks, you may search your library for 2 lands, put them on the battlefield, tap, shuffle up. Sounds maybe unassuming, Just and if you don't think it does because you know all about Primetime, think back to when you didn't know about this card and you first saw it. during preview season, or you first opened it, or your friend played it against you, or whatever your first exposure to primetime was, and you're like, no, that doesn't look okay. That's probably fine, you know. And then it proceeded to run away with the game entirely, you know. Like 6/6 is a crazy body. Trample on a 6/6 is, you have to deal with that, or you're probably gonna die. And even if you can deal with it, they get 2 lands out of it. They get 2 lands out of it. Even if you have the removal spell after it hits you once, okay, I got hit by it. I can dig my heels in and take 6 from this guy one time. Even if you do find the removal spell after that somehow, you find the sweeper, even that's cool. Okay, your opponent got 4 lands. It's absolutely wild. They thinned their deck by 4 lands, which is something. They've ramped by 4, and maybe they've landfalled by 4. Maybe they've gone and gotten whatever lands they want to, because for some unbelievable reason, some massive oversight, this does not say basic land cards. This just says land cards, which is a mistake. And, you know, I'm not saying that they didn't catch it. I think they knew exactly what the card did and they meant for it to do that. I'm just saying in hindsight, I think it's a massive mistake that you just go get whatever lands you want to. It's foolish. Tomfoolery. I don't actually know that this card can be unbanned in Commander. I think with all the stuff we're doing nowadays in Commander, yeah, you know, maybe we can give Primetime a try to see if it's like kind of okay. But there is a reason. I think people looking at this card, especially since it's been banned for a while now, I think people who are like newer to the format, they've never really seen this card do stuff. I could understand maybe some of them being like, come on, we can play with this card, right? It's not that bad. You've never seen Primetime resolve. It just does so much work, dude. This is a playable card in Standard back in its day, and is currently playable in like Modern. I think it's like Amulet Titan. This is part of the namesake Amulet Titan, right? It's the other half besides of Amulet of. It's Amulet of Vigor. I always forget which amulet it is because there's too many amulets in Magic. But yeah, this is one half of the Modern, you know, Amulet Titan deck, and it's gross. I really should. That's the end of the analysis, right? The card's super gross, and everybody knows it. If you've ever played against this card even once, you know like how the card's broken. There's a reason it's banned, man. This is one of the better cards that has been printed in green. This is probably one of the best green cards of all time, like bar none. What do you think? I haven't asked the audience in a couple of days, right? So what do you guys think? Asking the audience officially, what is Primetime's rating? I want to know. I want to know. Primetime. I want to know. Tell me what you think about this card. Because I think it's really... I mean, to say, like, I think it's really good is an overstatement of the year, dude. But what does that mean numerically? Right? Is this the best green creature ever? It's the best green creature ever is probably like Birds of Paradise. You know? God. I really don't want to cop out on this one. 8. So I started with an 8. I wonder how you guys feel about that. 8.8. 8.8 for Primeval Titan. Sincerely. Card's too good. Card's too good. But I can't wait to read the comments on this one, dude. Like, I really want to know how you feel about this one. Because I get the feeling some people, like maybe there's like 3 people watching this video have never seen this card before. And they just don't buy it. And they don't believe anything I've just said. And they see that it's banned in Commander. And they just think that like, well, that's archaic. There's no reason for that. Yeah, there is. I'm telling you, dude. I just get the feeling I'm going to get like, well, that's like a 5. Like, no, dude. I am telling you, everyone in the comment section is. I get the feeling too. There's going to be people who are like 9.5. What are you doing? 9.5. So we'll see. We'll see, man. I like I said, I can't wait to boil down that comment section, baby. But I will see y'all tomorrow. I was gonna say bright and early Sunday morning. To be honest, probably gonna be like later on that night, but that's fine. You guys are into it. I tell myself. I love you all. Wait. It is Sunday. I'm behind by a day. I'll see you bright and early Monday morning, won't I? Maybe. We'll see. I love you guys. Bye.